just cite one example of Africa. African countries have been arguing that historically we have been at the receiving end of European cruelty for an extremely long time. It's something that nobody stood up for quite a long time, and we find it difficult to wrap our head around this. That's one of their views. How do you answer that?
Well, first of all, we have to realize that the West did not always behave properly, to other countries, and I believe that the West now recognizes that, but it's not an excuse not to support the country that is a victim of aggression today. It's like but then it comes to this argument like, and what about? And what about that? It's not an argument. It's not a real argument, because it needs to be about absolute values. And if we are claiming that the West did not always historically did the right things in Africa, and that is completely true, right? It's not an argument for not standing for Ukraine today when we came to this realization. Actually, it is even a bigger argument why we should be helping Ukraine today. Because today we know what happens when big powers are doing the wrong things and no one is standing up for the smaller guys. I think that is how it should be treated. And I know that unfortunately not all African countries are seeing it this way. And there was also a fair deal of Russian propaganda over there, and then lots of connections with Russia altogether. But they should just see, and that's a twist. That they used to think about Russia as a continuation of the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union was the one that was fighting against, Western capitalism and Western aggression and whatever. But they need to realize that today Russia is the aggressor. That is what they were fighting against, like 100 years ago. Today, that is Russia. It just, the type of aggression is the same, it's just different country, and they have to realize this.
Yeah, just to conclude, I was talking to a lady called Mahbouba Siraj, who is a very highly respected activist based in Kabul. I have interviewed her a few times, and her view is rather interesting. She said for 20 years, we were brutalized by the Americans, before that 10 years by the Soviets. And now the US has the gumption to lecture people about democracy. And that view is fairly prevalent across the world, not just Afghanistan. So I think in some sense, what you're experiencing in terms of apathy, perhaps, from some of the global community is they do think along these lines. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality.
Well, I think what they have to think about is about the victim.
Right.
They were the victim of aggression, and so are we the victims of aggression. So, and that is the most important thing to to be thinking about the victims. And I do believe that for different reasons, we all, both in Afghanistan and here in Ukraine, we fell victims to aggression of different powers. And the task here is just to protect the victims of this aggression. And I believe that if I asked the person you talked to whether it is right because of the history in Afghanistan to kill Ukrainian children.
Not at all. Not at all. She does not.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's not about lecturing. It's not about bringing in other contexts. It's about very clear and obvious things. Like one country should not ever be allowed to come to another country and destroy it and kill its children. And it's as simple as that. And I think that is the message that all will agree and understand.